What's up, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. Okay, Daily Hodl had a story come out and a little bit of a buzz about Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, big moves with those cryptos, over 700 million being moved around. So we're going to talk about that. People think that that could signal an incoming dump. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin and see if that's really the case. All right, so let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
All right, guys, so last couple of weeks in Bitcoin's been pretty volatile. We've had a move from sub 7,000 all the way on up to almost 8,400. And we recently, in the last couple of hours, have seen a pullback. So we peaked out at a high of 83.88 and pulled back as low as 78.36. So several $100 pullback there. And, you know, the volatility is just very high right now. There's some concern that this was potentially going to dump because of this article here. Daily Hodl talked about over 700 million in crypto. So Bitcoin, Ripple, XRP, Ethereum being moved around. And when we dig into it here, here's like all of the Bitcoin transactions. These are large block transactions that are happening. Bitcoin, you can see all of these here. Ethereum, you can see all of these here. And same for XRP. Now, a lot of times what you have to keep in mind is we only know of some of the known exchange wallets. Okay, so like for example here, this 634 BTC came out of Bitstamp to some unknown wallet. So it could have been a larger player or maybe a fund came in, bought BTC, took it off exchange. We don't know. A lot of times when you see these even amounts, that's more than likely probably cold storage wallets and probably related to the exchange. And you have to keep in mind where we've come. Now, right now, we've come up and we're hitting our head, and we're going to look at Bitcoin a little bit more because, you know, since our last video, we've continued to make some pretty decent sized moves. And we've come up to this 8,400 area. We'll look at that in the daily, but you'll notice that what we have are really technical reasons for any kind of pullbacks that we might see over the next few hours to days. We've had bearish divergence here. If you look at Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart, there's a bearish divergence here where that means RSI is not making new highs, but the price is. So for example, here, you know, we had RSI here at this level around 85. The high of the candle was down here at 75.22. We make a high up here at 8,300 plus, and where's RSI? It's actually lower at 75. So that, you know, most of you know this. If you don't know, that's a bearish, we call that bearish divergence, and usually that precedes a pullback. And price has been weak since then. And in fact, we made a higher high here, and RSI continues to drift lower. Although I put more credence into when we have the closes that are actually making the highs versus the wicks, because that's how the RSI is calculated off of the closes. So there's reason for that. There's also on the daily chart, you'll also see that as well. Again, RSI divergence. If we zoom in here a little bit, you'll see that, you know, here we are, candle closed here, and we have a lower reading over here, and the candle has closed higher. So if this were to pull back a little bit, that's not a big deal. But I think most of that movement around was exchange related and not, you know, whales trying to take advantage of the pump in price and scrambling to the exchanges. I mean, if you think about it, they're probably going to be scaling into this move, not just, you know, deciding all at once to dump. If you're an exchange and you have this much buying, I mean, you're going to have to replenish the supply that you have to sell in the exchanges. So there's algorithms that are running. They want to maintain a certain amount of float on the exchanges, meaning how much cushion do they have to supply Bitcoin, because they have to make the market, right? They have to have both sides on the sell side and the buy side. So they're playing both sides in the market, but they have to make sure that there's enough liquidity there to facilitate a stable marketplace. So that's what I think that is, guys. As far as Bitcoin goes, you know, we've had a decent run, right? This is really parabolic, and any kind of pullback has lasted about a day on this particular leg, and then we move higher. But if we were to pull back and get back to these levels at, like, say, 7,500, 7,600, 7,700 in there, that would be perfectly normal. Bitcoin may not give it to us though, because when Bitcoin gets like this, it may finish off like we were talking about, getting closer to that 10K. Maybe you see a big wick into that level. And the reason for that is really because this is above this 8,500 level. Here's all the price action in this area, right? And this is the last volume node here, which comes out at about 8,200 or so. That's where your point of control is for that area. So, and this is your bear top. Remember, we're talking about hunting these bear tops. So no surprise, we have some resistance here. The last bear top that we saw resistance lasted what? Not even 2 days, and then boom, right through it. So if this parabola move is going to continue, then this should break out relatively soon. Otherwise, these bearish divergences could morph into a bit of a larger pullback than we've seen, and down in this 75 to 7,600 area would be, really prime territory, I think, for a bounce off of this, because you didn't really get a retest of this level when it broke here, and then another try up into this level. There is a lot of supply on the like Coinbase, for example, more so than these other areas. There's a lot of supply stacking up. So for some reason, there's a lot of sellers in this zone. So it's going to take a lot of buying power to break through that 8,500. But once that 8,500 is cleared, and we get and especially if we get a sharp move over it, I really do think that it might be a quick trip up to this 99.50 area, just under 10 grand. So just keep that in mind. And then we might see, a larger correction resting period. But a lot of people looking for Bitcoin down in these lower levels may have to wait a while. It might be a while before we can get a drift down there. The initial pullback would most likely be like a 30% to 40% variety, and that's just based on our historical price action when it's jumped up above the 200-day moving average like it has now. But the world's a little different place right now than in the past times that Bitcoin has come out of a bear market. You got trade war going on, and it's starting to become this hedge now, right? Like we showed you in the last video. The Chinese are devaluating their currency, and what are we seeing? Bitcoin spiking right up with that devaluation. So who knows? We can compare to Bitcoin's behavior to the past, but if the world's changing, sometimes we may not see exactly the same type of pullbacks or the ranges that we're used to when it comes out of this stuff. So it's possible it could range up here for a while. That'll remain to be seen, but we're just going to be smart about it, play the best risk rewards, and that's what we do mainly in the room. So, all right, guys, well, that's pretty much it for this video. That's my take on it. Again, I think exchange related moves. So we'll see what happens. We're topping out here a little bit. Again, if we do see a pullback, again, prime time zone for Bitcoin is going to be around the 74, 7,500 area, and play that for a bounce and see how it reacts going back up into this level after that. Alternatively, they could just consolidate here or pull one of these, and then tomorrow you get a really big bar, or the day after that, up. So we're just going off of the current price action, the current volatility, and so that's what I think are the most likely outcomes from here. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're interested in our indicators, our moneymaker, you can head over to tradelikeagenius.com. We have it available there, and you can pick that up there, or you can join us in the room as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you on tomorrow's video. Take care. Bye.
Trade Genius.